Hey, welcome to the Black and Rowdy Show. I'm your host, Black and Rowdy. So happy to see all of you on this beautiful Saturday. So we're having a continuous talk about being single, right? Like last week we talked about singlehood and all this craziness. So this week we're going to talk about being single in your 20s, your 30s, and your 40s, right? Obviously, all these different modalities come with their experiences and different mindsets, right? So please help me welcome all of our guests. We have Nija, Tanya, Will, Ken, Jenny. We have all of these people from all over the globe. And you guys can go ahead and turn on your video and turn on your audio. Or if you can't, if you're not going to turn your video, don't worry about that part. But for those who want to turn on your video, turn on your video. And yeah, so glad that you could join me in this talk. Because, I want to hear some different perspectives,
Hey, Kim, start my video, please. It says
it's not working? Okay, let me do that for you.
Yeah, it ain't working.
Let me do that for you real quick.
Please.
So, all right, you should be good to go, Ken.
Cool. Hey, guys.
Hello.
Hey, what's going on, Ken?
Not too much. How are y'all?
Good. Living.
Let me undo my child's actions here.
All right, so the first question I have is, in your dating life, for those who are in their 20s, or for those who remember being in their 20s, which wasn't that long ago for most of us, right? What was the different mindset? You had the 20s mindset and you have the 30s mindset. So what was the difference in the mindset? Okay, like for me, in the 20s,
I haven't had a chance to date.
Oh, yeah. For you, it's different, right? But I'm curious to know, what's your mindset in your 20s? So why don't we start with you first? What do you think?
Okay, with me, being in my 20s, I haven't had the experience of dating because dudes in my generation, they just want the P. And you know what that means, the P. they want to chill. They just want to hang out, vibe, catch a vibe.
Yeah.
All this stuff, this so-called vibe. And they don't really ask you on dates. My generation, they look at it like they make it seem like you have to earn to be asked on a date.
Wow.
Like I don't know. Like these days, dudes look to use females a lot of times. They look to get money out of females, use them for things, and whoever gets them the most things probably win, or either be the biggest dummy.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's a different.
And that's just how they kind of operate. You meet very few that they'll take it seriously. They'll take the dating seriously, actually getting to know you, build a friendship, a bond. Some of them just want to get straight to the point. That's it.
Yeah. Well, not too much different for the 30s.
Right.
Right. Not that much of a difference, right? Okay. So that's good to know. In your generation, boys, let's call them boys. Boys are just wanting to, get it in and get that money, is what it sounds like to me. They're not really interested in
city boys. You're gonna call them city boys.
That's right. They want a mommy. They don't want a girlfriend. They want a mommy. Point blank period. Right.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. They look for their moms and their girlfriends, which is weird to me because I'm like, your mom's single, so what is she giving to her man?
Yeah.
It'd be stuff like that. Like I'd be like, okay, what can you bring to the table besides just a female? And I understand the men's perspectives too. What can a female bring to the table? Besides beauty, besides sex.
Yeah.
Offering just those simple things.
Yeah. I'm curious.
But sometimes.
Yeah. I'm curious to know what other think about this. I mean, what is it like as far as what I just said? Dating in your 20s,
I kind of feel like
in your 30s, right? So
I kind of feel like women, obviously not all women, we're all different, but I feel like the majority of women don't really change that much as far as what they want and what they look for in a relationship from their 20s to their 30s. I say most men don't either, what she just described. sounds like the same things men do in their 30s.
Yep.
It's not any different at all.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's not the case for everybody. Some men become more mature and they look for different things. But I still feel like a lot of the single men, the men in their 30s that are still single, are still playing the same games.
I agree. I agree.
Right.
Anybody else? Sorry, I think I cut somebody off. Ken?
Well, I think that we have to pull ourselves out as a subset of society. So we all, and I think I say this inclusively, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think we all are educated.
Mm-hmm.
We're independent. We are self-sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need anybody else. So, and I think that changes the discussion quite significantly. So I know that for me, for instance, and Jamie and I've had this, we've got some things going on with us. And I look at myself as very headstrong. And I get it. You don't necessarily get that in your 20s because I'm 47, he's 27. I get that. You don't necessarily, I didn't have it when I was 27. I didn't have my headstrong, forward thinking entrepreneur self. I was nothing. I mean, I was literally nearly homeless when I was 27. Mm-hmm. So I think that as we grow stronger or weaker, one or the other. Kim, you know my ex, and my ex is weaker than my current boyfriend. Mm-hmm. And even though Jamie's not perfect, neither am I, but he's got his strengths. He's got his weaknesses. He's got his benefits. He's got his, negative factors. We all do though. I mean, I have my negative factors. I have a whole hell of a lot of baggage. But I think as we get older, we see things very differently. But I think, unfortunately, I don't believe that the current generation of parents are rearing, and I stress that word, rearing their children the same way we were taught. I was reared.
What? Can you give me an example of one thing?
Well, I was reared. I was not raised. Mm-hmm. You raise animals. You rear children.
Interesting.
And you can look at that very differently and comedically. Let me just look at it, very comedically. You rear children, you spank the asses. That's what you do. But you rear children. You don't raise children. And I think that's the problem. So many parents today, and if you look at the younger generations, and no offense to our colleagues in our 20s, but you were taught differently than those of us who were reared.
Gotcha. So you're saying, I'm sorry. So I get what you're saying, but I want to stay on topic as far as like, what is the difference in your mindset? And I know you kind of touched on that. You said that when you were 27, you were not thinking on the same level that you are at 47.
Right.
And that's a good point, right? You should have grown as a person, and you have grown as a person, right?
Right.
So I think it's so critical that if you're going to be dating somebody in your whatever age group you're in, you need to make sure you're on the same level, right? Like that's how I feel like, right?
But I also think it has a lot to do with our backgrounds. I think it has a lot to do with how we were taught, how we were reared, what we learned. And I'm learning that now, going on, a year and 3 months with Jamie, I'm learning that things are very different. And I was taught, like in my 20s when I was I was pursuing so hard for what I thought was perfect, because what I knew in my 20s and what I was reared as a 50s kid. So you meet somebody, you fall in love, you date, you never see anybody else, and that's it.
Oh, I see.
I was taught.
Yeah,
right.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Right. I was taught total and complete monogamy. I was taught you never, ever, 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 ever met anybody else. And if you were with somebody, you were with them, period.
Yeah.
Which works great. But then you also have to realize that other people are taught differently.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's absolutely
right. That's true.
Okay, so Jenny had her hand up. Jenny, go ahead.
No, it's super quick. I was just gonna say that one thing that I feel like a difference, because what I said was that a lot of times women don't really change that much as far as what they want in relationships from their 20s to their 30s. But I would say one difference that I do remember very clearly, because it hasn't been that long ago that the change was made, unfortunately. I feel like in our 20s, we're willing to accept a lot less than what we should.
So true.
And now that we're in our 30s, it's kind of like, nah, you got to go, bruh. Like, we're not selling for the same things that we were before.
Yeah. And why is that? Can I ask you like follow up
Right.
questions? Why is that? Why in your 20s or why in your particular 20s?
I don't know about other women, but I feel like for myself and a lot of women that I know, actually, it has to do with insecurity. And I feel like if you want stable relationships from such an early age, and men really kind of don't. So then it becomes like, well, you want it so much that you're willing to settle for things because you feel insecure about yourself because you want it so much. So then you put those two things together and it's like you're willing to settle for things that we shouldn't.
That's true.
So it's like insecurity mixed with, you know, when you're younger, like you accept like shittier jobs, like you accept less than what your worth is.
That's so true.
Like that
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, I agree.
Oh,
I completely agree. And honestly, I could definitely vouch for that. Because we really do. And another thing that honestly bothered me about this generation is the mindset of, oh, it's so accepting to have a side piece. Like, why is it so accepting nowadays to have a side piece?
So accepted for
and then it and then they look for reasons for you to deserve to be cheated on. Like, oh, it's your looks, it's superficial stuff. Like, you ever be noticing that? And it's, I don't know, I don't understand why side piece behavior is so accepting. I don't understand. It's like people getting less morals, less respect. You know, I just, when I look at it for just me and you this person, and you want to go dim and down with this person because you bored with me.
That's terrible. You know, it's just the sorry, Nigel.
So you said the reason why I need to lower your standards and self-esteem.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Sorry, Nigel, I think you cut out a little bit. Will, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm gonna push back on some things.
All right, go ahead. You.
So like there's several things I kind of want to point out. One, I think that there's really nothing new under the sun. I feel like in a lot of ways, our generation is very similar to the generations in their 20s. Even from decades to decade, like you kind of have the same thing. So like if we're talking about the 50s, you know, like they were cheating on each other on the 50s, in the 50s. Yeah, many cases where you've had people, you know, you come to find out decades later, somebody has a whole secret family. Like you have a lot of these cases. And I feel like and a lot of times we tend to romanticize the past and to, you know, to think about, you know, it used to be like this, and this generation is so awful because we never was like this when we were kids. And the reality is, yeah, we were. Like our generation, we was just as bad. You know, the only difference is that a lot of us are millennials. And so we came up during the advent of modern, like what we know as modern technology. But, you know, if we had access to other, like if they had, if people growing up in the 90s and the 80s had the access to technology that we had, you see the same thing. Like it's the mentality hasn't changed. It never changed. It's still there. It's just like it exhibits itself differently. You know, so like even in terms of the words, like, you know, somebody like I guess maybe in the 50s and 60s, somebody would refer to a woman as a broad. Now, like we say, thought or something. It holds the same connotation. So like I think we kind of need to like move away from that and like really not disparage the younger generation, because honestly, the younger generation, they learn all of that from us. All of that.
Yeah.
So like something
Yeah.
that we
I
yeah,
agree. Because
that's something that we have to keep in mind. In terms of me personally, what I've noticed, like just getting older. Me personally, I believe that the expectations are a bit different. So in the 20s, there's a bit more leeway. Like in your 30s is now like if you're approaching a woman, like especially somebody around your age, there's a certain expectation that she's expecting.
Okay, can we touch on that expectation? Give me one expectation that women in their 30s are expecting.
Well, so I feel that somebody who's more stable, like more stable, more mature,
Okay.
has a idea of what they want to do with their life, have an idea of where they want to go with their lives.
True.
And a lot of it is because she's growing.
Yeah.
Her expectations are changing.
Yeah.
Her goals, she may be more direct with her goals. And she a lot of times she's doing her thing. So
Yeah.
like if someone is approaching her, like there's like she's expecting certain things from that.
Absolutely. Jenny,
Yeah,
you had your hand up. You wanted
sorry.
to add?
I was just gonna say that I agree with what Will was saying, that I don't think it has anything to do with when you were raised. I think it's true that nothing's new, everything's just a repeat, it just looks different. Like it's literally all the same. Men and women have been doing the same thing since the beginning of time. I do think it has everything to do with how we were raised, though. Everything to do with how you were raised. Not when, but how, for sure. Because a lot of men
Yeah.
I've always actually wondered how it happens, because I don't think parents teach their children like, you're a man, it's okay for you to cheat. But somehow, somewhere, maybe by example, they learn that.
It's true. I think yeah, you're right. I think they learn it from their parents, they learn it from their dads. And I think that's a mindset that I talked about in another show about how men and women, or boys and girls, have to be re-educated, on how to conduct themselves. It's okay to cry. It's okay to give men back their humanity, because I think that's part of the reason why they feel like they have to be the strong one, and they have to show that they're a man by dating multiple women, or whatever the case, right?
And just to be like, we have to teach them how to be better humans.
Absolutely.
Not just men, women too, like both of us.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. How to be kind to each other, and if you're not interested in someone, you have the balls to tell them. You don't string people along, like you respect other people.
Absolutely. And I definitely want to switch gears here. And Nija, I see your hand. I want to switch gears to talk about dating apps. Really quickly, what are your thoughts about dating apps? Do they work? Do they not work? According to you, we already know there's like the 10% or whatever that have found somebody on a dating app, or whatever the case.
I am on dating apps right now.
Right? Tell us about it. Give us some thoughts about it. Go ahead, Nija.
It's okay. I'm just starting out with it, like about 5 months now. But honestly, I ain't never met nobody actually in person from the app, because I'm very skeptical of people. People are crazy these days. You don't know who you're gonna meet. You don't want no one coming to your address. You want to meet up in a public place. Mm-hmm. Some of them kind of come off with, can you send me a picture? And usually that throws me off, because I mean, you see all the pictures. What you want next?
Yeah.
What you trying to get? And I already know what you're trying to get.
Yeah.
Not today, sir. No.
No, absolutely.
And some of them just don't really know how to have conversations. Sometimes you end up carrying the conversation, then you just feel like you're talking to yourself. Hey, how you doing? One word things. People. I don't like that you can't carry a conversation. And another thing, we are very developed on technology. I don't care if you have an Android or iPhone. If that person cannot make up every excuse in the world not to video chat you or FaceTime you, leave them alone.
Leave them alone. That's what I say too. Yep.
Something they're hiding. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But you have enough technology to be on this dating app.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree with you on that. With all the technology, there's zero excuse. You should be able to see somebody, no problem, right? And I think in my 20s, when I was dating,
right.
Oh, sorry, you're cutting out. When I was in my 20s, I was doing the dating apps. It was just like, I just answered every message, no problem. And I was like, oh, I'm so excited that people are messaging me. In my 30s, I'm like, who's this? Oh no. Swipe left.
Right.
Swipe and left and right. You know what I mean? Like I just gave zero.
And you gotta investigate,
Oh, Nigel, you're cutting out.
Right. You gotta investigate. Shoot. Oh, my bad.
Yes, investigate. Thank you, Naja. All right, Jenny, let's hear you. Hear you out.
I think dating apps are a terrible idea. Speaking from experience.
Yeah.
I know people have had success on dating apps. Kudos to them. They're one in a million. I also have seen, like, if you just go on YouTube and type in Tinder murders, too many pop up.
Gosh.
It's crazy out here. Also, that's like a really small percentage too. But the point is, even when you're not being murdered or having success, it's just people don't care. Like, I've heard a lot of people say, like, I've watched like videos and stuff on this, and a lot of people say that the problem with dating apps is that people have too much selection. So they don't care. Like, they don't care. They don't have to have a good conversation with you. It doesn't matter if they swipe right or left. Like, if they don't like the way things are going in the first line or the first sentence of the conversation, they can just keep on swiping. It's just so much selection that they don't have to go through the process of being awkward in real life and having to figure out how to walk up to someone and like introduce themselves, figure out a way to ask you out, because they already know you're on the app for that reason.
Yeah.
So it's like less effort, and they don't care because it's just like, okay, well, whatever. There's another one that is similar to you. I can just keep swiping. So it's just like it's not something that they have to care about.
Yeah. I actually got off the dating apps. I was done with the dating apps because it was just getting too much. It was just, yeah, it was getting.
I've officially been on dating apps in 2 countries now, and I'm gonna go ahead and say trash everywhere.
There you go. Trash everywhere. Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? Oh my gosh. Yeah, so true. Like it's just frustrating sometimes. It's like, really? Like, I expected a little bit more, but it is what it is, right? But anybody else want to say something about dating apps? Your agreement about dating apps? Go ahead, Will.
Yeah, I mean, so like I feel like they're like, I feel like they could be like a crapshoot. Me personally, I don't like really take them as seriously. I just look at it just something like, it's just there when I'm bored.
Can I ask you something about that? And now I'm curious.
Yes.
Because a lot of us do that, right? We go on dating apps because we're bored. And it's like, why is that? Why are we on a dating app because we're bored? Like, to me, it's like, no, this is real talk, right? Because we've all done it, right? This is real talk. Why are we on a dating app because we're bored? That's gotta stop. Like, that's part of the reason why I deleted it.
For me personally, I think it's more just my ADHD. So like it's
Okay.
just something to do. And the prospect of, you meet someone, like you meet someone and there's a chance that you actually might hit it off with that person. And, hey, cool.
Okay.
So like that's where I guess my boredom, I guess, comes from. For me, it was just kind of always like a crapshoot. It depends. I've had some nice experiences. I've had some really weird experiences. I've had, I met people on there and just actually just end up just being regular friends.
Yeah.
So, like I think I think one thing, um, it really, from a guy's end, it could be a bit awkward because like I guess your opening line, it has to be more than just a,
Yeah.
hey, good morning, or hey,
Yep.
how are you doing? And like you have to be creative
Yep.
and you have to put more. Me personally, I think you might have to put a little bit more effort into it than you would just meeting somebody in person and just organically looking for an opening to like.
Oh, it looks like you froze, Will. Okay. So my guess is guys on their end have issues with, I guess, trying to say the right thing. And I think women can feel that way as well. Not sure of what to say, or that kind of thing. But I don't know. I guess with dating apps, it's like it's such a toss up. You don't know who you're talking to. You don't know what the situation is, right? You and I want to get out of the habit of being on a dating app because I'm bored. And that's why I got myself off, because I don't want to be on there because I'm bored and I just want to see. No, like if I'm bored, I need to go climb, I need to go run, I need to go be doing something productive, right? So that's the way I thought myself. So don't take it personally. That's just how I felt as a human being. Go ahead, Jenny.
Um, I feel like the only time I get on a dating app if I'm bored, it's because I'm trying to get over someone. I'm never like legit, if I'm not involved with anyone at the time, I'm not like, oh, I'm bored. I'd rather go get on Tinder and have terrible conversations that take several days to like actually have a conversation because no one really answers quickly. Like I'll leave them on red for a week and they do the same thing to me. So in a month we've said, hi, how are you? I'm good, how are you? And like, that's it.
Mhm.
So I only get on there when I'm quote unquote bored because I'm trying to not think about somebody else.
That's a good point.
But also, I don't think the guys necessarily have to be creative with the way that they approach you. Maybe for some women they do because it's on a dating app and everyone says like the same thing. For me, it doesn't matter about being creative. It just matters that you're consistent.
That's a good one.
Because if you just disappear and stuff, it's just like another like conversation that went nowhere.
Yeah, agreed.
And then that's when women are like, "Yep, let me get off here real quick because it's boring."
So for me,
Mm-hmm.
Tinder was the perfect thing. So Jamie and I met on Tinder. We met August 31, and we went to a movie, took him home. I came back within 2 days. I'm sorry. So our first night, we went to the movies. We were together until about 3 or 4 in the morning, dropped him off, came back, a day later, and it was perfect. But I think the thing that was different, because I agree that things don't necessarily line up, but thank you. But I think so many times things can, and he just came and brought me water because I asked him to, because he's perfect. But I think that you have to take a chance. So even with the things that have been going on, I told him, I'm just like, you know what? I've been through so many things. I've been through trials. Kim, I think you remember the guy with the cute smile, all
Yeah,
that.
I remember him. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, and he was all screwing everybody else. He's going, no, I'm not doing it. And yeah, he was on hookup apps, and you know, you can't tell for real. And I told Jamie that I almost didn't go for our first date because I couldn't deal with the idea that I was being screwed.
Yeah.
But our first date was my best decision. Hopefully he thinks that too. Yeah, he's in here right now.
Okay.
But hopefully that was our best decision because it was good. I mean, it was our first date was great.
That's good. And I think you're a success story versus some of us have had some really crappy experiences. And
yeah, but well, you know what? Let me tell y'all little straight bitches how to do this shit. You hire a gay boy to find you a straight bitch to be your man. That's what you got to do. Because look, we got skills, okay? I'm just saying.
When I'm ready for that, I'll hit you up. But I ain't ready. I'm good. I'm good being single. But thank you, Jenny.
You need to be single. You need to be single because you're too powerful. And I think that's what.
I'm not. At least I say I'm not.
Same boat, okay?
At least I say I'm not. Go ahead, Jenny.
Well, actually, let's segue to this. So, women need to realize their power. That's what y'all need to realize.
Men need to realize our power because we are.
There you go.
There you go. That's true too. Yeah.
I'm not blaming anybody, but I'm just telling y'all, look, you need to realize it's what I had to realize, and that's what I'm trying to tell Jamie lately is that you have to realize your power. You have to realize, and I'm not talking sexual, I'm not talking anything, I'm talking human.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the whole idea.
Well, actually, because Ken brought up like power. And that's a good point because sometimes I feel like women that are in relationships that have like, I don't want to say successful because not all relations that are long are successful.
Right.
Like, I feel like a lot of times that women that are in relationships that have been going on for like several years, not all the time, obviously people have successful relationships, but a lot of times I feel like they have to settle to be in those relationships. Like they have to be okay with being cheated on and then pretending like they're not being, like, you know what I mean? So I feel like women like you and I, Kim, we're a little bit too strong sometimes, you feel me?
Well, yeah.
Sometimes I wonder if that's why we're single, because we're just not gonna put up with that type of shit, you know? So I think we realize our power, but men maybe don't want to deal with it. You know what I mean? Like they'd rather have someone more chill that like lets things slide, that makes life easier. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with you.
But Jenny, does that make it okay?
Does it make what okay?
Does that make the acquiescence? Does that make your strength okay? I don't think it does. I'm sorry.
I don't know what I'm not sure what you're asking.
I'm asking if your strength. Okay, let me rephrase it. Does your strength make it okay for them to pull away? I think so.
No, but it is really common though, right, Kim? Because I feel like that happens to me a lot.
Yeah.
Like I recently, I'm not gonna go into it, but there was like a situation with the guy who I think he realized when I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna put up with that. He was like, oh, let me dip real quick. Like that's just how they operate. Not all of them, obviously.
Does that make it okay?
Let me know, hook me up. You know what I mean?
Does that make it okay for who though, Ken? Who are we talking about when you say to make it okay?
Men. He's talking about pulling away.
For anybody, but does it make it okay? So here's my thing. So hear me out. Remembering I was reared in another generation. So I was taught the female controls. I was taught in female generically. So the female controls. So if a female says no, The female says, I'm not comfortable. The female says, this is not okay for me. Does that make it okay?
That's a topic that we can definitely hit on at another point because I think it's very deep, and I'm glad you brought it up, Ken.
It is.
That's not something we can really pick apart.
I agree. You can't box it.
Yeah.
But I think that's what we should look at. That's where I think, and I think that's where we think should empower females. We should empower women to understand, and especially now with Kamala Harris and things that are going on, I think we should empower women to understand you have control. And even not even women, even the less, I don't want to say submit, I don't want to, oh, how do I say this? The less dominant person in a relationship.
Got it. Passive, right?
Should not feel that they have to give up everything.
Yeah.
You shouldn't. You should understand you have control. Because the one thing that I was misunderstood several years ago, I won't have relations with somebody who's intoxicated. They cannot consent. Understand that that's another show. But I need, my point is that you have to be able to say yes. You have to be able to say, I agree. You have to be able to say, I consent. You have to, that's the whole thing. It's a mutual understanding.
Yeah.
I think a lot of women are scared to say no in relationships or like stand up for themselves in certain situations.
I'm sorry, Jenny, say that again.
I think that a lot of women are scared of saying no in relationships because they're scared that that means that the man is gonna leave.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, let his ass leave.
I'm gonna now, and it's not in an obvious way either. It's like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's not like, I don't know. It's like in a deep way. Like you find yourself doing things that you know are beneath you. You find yourself doing things that you're like, wow, like, does the best version of me really want me to be doing these things right now? And you're doing them. You're doing them.
Yeah.
And I think that's true for both ends. And I think I want to give Will and Tanya an opportunity to talk as well. So let's start with Tanya. Did you have anything to add to this conversation? If you don't, just put a thumbs down or say no or whatever, and then we'll jump to Will.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to kind of say anything because it's like, what can I say?
I'm still about being in relationships that you can kind of chime in. If you feel comfortable. If you don't, that's totally fine.
I mean, I definitely agree with everybody's opinion. It's just there's a give and take. Sometimes,
yes,
when you say that most women don't leave relationships because they're scared that they're of the partner leaving them or something like that, so they're willing to accept anything. Some women do. It's all like I think Ken was trying to touch on. I'm sorry, Ken. Oh my God, I had to look.
Tanya, really?
Sorry. I love you. I'm sorry. I was like, I'm looking at everybody's name. I'm sorry.
Tanya, I might have to kick you out on the front porch.
No,
ma'am.
No, I want to come to your barbecue.
Come on, girl. Bring it.
But still,
drive your ass over here.
But I definitely agree with him. It's just that a lot of women, yes, they're willing to take it, but it's all a self-esteem thing. If you have understanding of your worth, that you're not going to take anything from anyone. It don't matter if it's a man or woman. Your self-worth is important. You have to understand that you have to love yourself first before you can just jump into another relationship. See what's inside of you first, and the reason why your relationships are not working.
Oh my goodness.
And and that's
absolutely
maybe more of a you problem than a they problem. And it could be a they problem too. And that's why most of the time is more of what are you looking for and what you're willing to accept. I can't really speak on much, but it's not like I never had any issues. Me and Ray go through issues all the time. It's never been like anything dealing with other people in our relationship. It's more of us trying to grow together if that makes sense,
That
and
makes total
learning
sense.
how we are together, who's, you know, being able to, you know, one of us to submit to each other when we have to, instead of us trying to want to all of, you know, both of us button heads and continue to friction and not wanting to, someone wanting to just say, hey, all right, okay, so what can I do for you? That kind of thing. But I think that's a relationship conversation, not really a singles conversation. It's kind
But
of weird.
it's the same thing. But it's essentially the same thing, and that's why I had you on the show, because I think you'll give another perspective, because you're in a relationship that's been a long term relationship, right? So you're gonna have a different perspective than the rest of us, right? And so is Ken. Ken has also been in a long term, I had to say, long term relationship. That's why I want to get an eclectic group. So I know I appreciate that, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's kind of the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Like all the different, we're trying to build relationships with people, right? And what does that look like? They're going to be compromises. They're going to be things that we try to do to make the other person happy. That's something I have to work on. Hold on, well, I'm gonna get to you. Something I noticed about myself this week. My friend just flat out said, you've been for men more than for yourself. She goes, I noticed that like you're more concerned about making the other man happy than about you. And I'm like, wow, that's some real talk. I had to really step back and be like, wow, me sitting up here saying like, oh, I'm independent, yada yada yada. Oh, I don't need a man, yada yada yada. But it's like, yo, like it's been skewed. Like I really need to like rethink things and really like pick apart my character and really get back to where I need to be, right? So, anyways, I had to throw that in there because it's like it's essentially the same thing, right, Tanya? I feel like it's regardless of whether you're in a long-term relationship or a short-term relationship, it's the same thing. You're trying to grow together. You're trying to get to know each other, right?
And it starts with you first, because once you
Yeah.
realize like Ray is not the only relationship I've been in, of course, you know, but since me and Ray been together, it's been like 10 years, so that's a lot of years since the last other relationship I've had. So growing from that relationship and jumping into another one, you know, you start to learn things about yourself that, you know, hey, okay, so I know what I'm willing to accept, and I ain't gonna step that BS. I know what you know, if I need to be by myself, I can be by myself. That's not a big issue. What can we do to work this out where we can be able to compromise and be with each other? You know, hopefully for a long, you know, forever, if God intends that it to be. But it's all about you first, you know, and they have to work on themselves too. But are they willing to work with you while you build yourself and they build themselves? And that's the kind of person I want to, you know, that's, you know, single people in general, not just women, not just men, should be looking for, not just, okay, what can he do for me? Or what can she do for me? Is both. What can we do for each other to build each other up as a union? Because this is a partnership. It's just not about you and me. Or me.
Absolutely, and it's so true. But let me go over.
Oh, I'm sorry, Will.
Yeah, Will, you had something to say?
No, I mean, because I was going to comment on, I think what we were talking about, like, I guess what something that Ken brought up, but like the conversation kind of, it kind of went to a different, it kind of went a different direction. So I actually kind of forgot my.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. We're gonna end the show anyway, so it's totally fine if you forgot. Like we can.
But I will say that in terms of what Tanya is saying, in terms of and in regards to a relationship, there's definitely an ebb and flow. Somebody once told me that a relationship is two people building around each other. So when you keeping that in mind, that if you build that they're supposed to create some sort of balance. So it's never supposed to be one side dominating over the other.
That sounds so beautiful. Two people
So like
yeah, it does.
It could be, you know, there could be one side maybe more proficient in something than the other side, but it should never be even a dominant, like in terms of dominating. And even when you like think about the concept of submitting, right? Like in our understanding, I feel like in just kind of like, I guess, modern American 21st century understanding of like submitting to someone, you think of it in terms of a domination aspect. But if you're talking about it in terms of a relationship, it's not supposed to be. Like if it's there to create balance. So if you're it, it's not it should be both a like we're both submitting to each other.
Absolutely. Can I pause you right there for a minute?
Yeah, go ahead.
We gotta wrap it up. So yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where it gets lost in the sauce, right? Because we're so concerned about ourselves. We're so concerned. To be honest with you, I feel like women are more outwardly, we're very nurturing by nature. So it's very easy for us to be like, oh, what can I do for you? How can I help you? You know, our nature is very much like that. To be quite frank with you, I feel like men don't have that nature, and it takes time for them to have that nature of, let me help you. How can I help you? Right? Because I think as they grow up, and I think Ken touched on this, other people have touched on this, as they grow up, the boys are taught that it's all about you. And I can see that in the way that parents teach their boys. I can totally see that in the way that they treat their boys versus they treat their daughters. And I think it's I don't think it's malicious in any way.
It's even worse in the Latin culture, girl.
Yeah, I don't think it's malicious. I think it's just ingrained in us that women are to submit or to serve, boys are to be on a higher level. And I see that. I see that in elementary school, you know, and I completely push back on it all the time. I'm like, how are you treating your daughter? Like, did she get this? Because I saw that you gave your son this. Did you give your daughter this too when she got the reward? Like, I just kind of like help parents to think like, yo, like you got to treat them the same. Like, it's not fair that you give the boy, he gets to have a toy because he got Scholar of the Week, but she didn't get a toy when she got Scholar of the Week. Like, it's just it's so ingrained in us to treat the boys more on a higher scale. But anyways, that's another topic. But thank you all for coming on the show. I really appreciate all of the thoughts and everything. And like I said, this is an ongoing talk. Like, I can talk forever. I had questions up the wazoo about what we could talk about, but there's just not enough time. There's just not enough time to talk about everything. I want to talk about why are women feel like that they have to change more than the men do. That's another topic. Let me tell you, like when I brought that up, it was lit. That conversation was crazy. And it was a lot of pushback, right? So I want to tackle that maybe next time, but not now. Obviously, we've been on here a hot minute, but thank you all for coming on the show, and I appreciate all of you. And thank you, YouTube and Facebook and yada, 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 who tuned in, and I hope you tune in next week.
Thumbs up. And like.